I didn't expect anything monumental to happen that night. It was supposed to be forgettable. A date, a polite goodbye, a return to normal. That's the lie I told myself. The truth is, everything that unraveled later, every choice, every regret, every sleepless night can be traced back to one sentence spoken by a woman who wasn't even part of my life, at least, not until she decided to be. The date itself was unremarkable in the way most almost somethings are. Her name was Clara. We met through a friend of a friend, the kind of setup that comes with low expectations and polite optimism. She laughed at the right moments. I listened more than I talked. We split the check without awkwardness. The night ended with a hug that lingered just long enough to suggest potential, but not enough to promise anything. It wasn't love. It wasn't disaster. It was just a date. I walked her to her car, watched her taillights disappear, and felt that familiar emptiness settle in an emotional middle ground, where nothing hurts but nothing excites either. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. My apartment building was quiet when I got back. Too quiet. The kind of silence that makes your footsteps sound intrusive. As I unlocked my door, I noticed the light across the hall was still on. Mrs. Halloway's place. Everyone in the building knew her. Not personally, no one really knew her, but she was impossible to ignore. Late 60s, maybe early 70s, always dressed neatly, always watching. She had lived in that building longer than anyone else, which gave her an unspoken authority, like she belonged to the walls themselves. We had exchanged pleasantries before, elevator conversations, the occasional nod in the hallway, nothing more. That night though, she opened her door just as I stepped inside my apartment. Back late, she said. Her voice was calm, neutral, not accusatory. Yeah, I replied, just a date. I don't know why I said that. I didn't owe her an explanation, but she looked at me in a way that made it feel like she already knew. She stepped slightly into the hallway, her hands folded in front of her. Did it go well? She asked. I shrugged. I think so. Nothing special. That's when she tilted her head, just a little, and said the sentence. You'll think about her again in 3 days, she said. But that's not the woman who's going to change your life. I laughed, actually laughed. Okay, I said. That's specific. She didn't smile. Instead, she looked past me over my shoulder, like she was seeing something in my apartment that I couldn't. She come later, Mrs. Halloway continued, the one who changes everything. And when she does, you'll wish this night had stayed ordinary. The hallway felt colder. I told myself she was just an old woman making conversation, or a lonely neighbor indulging in theatrics, or someone who watched too many late-night mystery shows. Good night, Mrs. Halloway, I said, gently but firmly. Good night, she replied. And remember what I said. I closed my door and locked it. I didn't think about her again that night, but her words didn't leave me. 3 days later, I caught myself checking Clara's profile. I froze. It wasn't intentional. I had opened my phone during a break at work, thumb moving on instinct. Her name appeared before I even realized what I was doing. I stared at the screen longer than I should have. Then I laughed again, this time without humor. Coincidence, I muttered. Still, I didn't message her. Weeks passed. Life returned to its predictable rhythm. Work, gym, late dinners eaten standing up, weekends that blurred together. I occasionally saw Mrs. Halloway in the hallway. She never mentioned the prophecy again, just nodded, smiled faintly, watched. I convinced myself the whole thing had been meaningless. That belief held until the night the fire alarm went off. It was just past midnight when the shrill sound shattered the building's quiet. I grabbed my keys and jacket and stepped into the hallway with everyone else. A half-awake crowd gathered in confusion. Smoke drifted from the stairwell. Not dangerous, but alarming enough. That's when I saw her. She was standing near the exit, arms crossed tightly, eyes wide but steady, dark hair pulled back hastily. No makeup, wearing a sweatshirt that looked borrowed. She noticed me looking and gave a small, uncertain smile. Something shifted. Not attraction at least not yet. Recognition, like I had known her in a dream once. We ended up outside together, leaning against the brick wall as firefighters checked the building. I'm Alina, she said, offering her hand. The moment our palms touched, something in my chest tightened. I started, then stopped. I had the strangest sensation that saying my name out loud mattered more than it should. I know, she said softly. I laughed nervously. You do? She hesitated. I mean no, sorry, that came out weird. but she didn't sound embarrassed. She sounded certain. Over the next hour, we talked, not small talk, real talk. She had just moved in, new job, new city, running from something she didn't fully explain. I didn't press. She didn't ask much about me either, but when she looked at me, it felt like she was listening anyway. When the alarm was cleared and people filtered back inside, neither of us moved right away. I feel like this wasn't an accident, she said suddenly. I smiled. The fire alarm. No, she replied. Meeting you. My heart picked up speed. I thought of Mrs. Holloway. And for the first time, I felt afraid. Alina and I became inseparable faster than logic would advise. Coffee turned into dinners. Dinners turned into nights that ended too late and mornings that began too early. She left a toothbrush at my place without discussion. I gave her a spare key without hesitation. It felt inevitable and dangerous, because every time I passed Mrs. Holloway in the hall, she looked at me with something like pity. One night, I stopped her. You said something to me once, I began, about someone changing my life. She studied my face. She's here, she said. I swallowed. Is that a warning? Her lips pressed together. It's a truth, she replied. Warnings are only useful when people listen. What happens? I asked. She shook her head. That depends on you. Alina moved in 3 months later. 6 weeks after that, I learned what she had been running from, and why. Mrs. Holloway had looked past me that first night. Some prophecies don't predict the future. They recognize it by the time everything fell apart. I understood the sentence, not because it came true, but because it had always been true. Some dates are forgettable. Some neighbors are observant. And sometimes, one sentence doesn't change your life. It simply tells you that it's about to. Asterisk. Then I met you. The words landed softly, but they didn't feel soft. They felt final, like a door closing somewhere behind us. I didn't say anything right away. I was trying to understand whether what I felt was fear or relief. Maybe both. Maybe the space between them. I didn't plan this, she said quickly, as if silence made her nervous. I didn't plan us. I know that sounds irresponsible, but it's the truth. I nodded, though my chest felt tight. I keep thinking about that night, I admitted. The fire alarm. How random it all seemed. She looked down at her hands. It wasn't random for me. That made me look at her. I almost didn't come outside, she continued. I was standing by my door, telling myself to stay in, telling myself I didn't need to meet anyone else. And then something in me said, go. She smiled faintly. I don't usually listen to that voice. I thought of Mrs. Holloway, of the way she'd looked past me, as if the present moment had never been the point. What are you afraid of now? I asked. Alina didn't answer immediately. When she did, her voice was quieter. That I'll stay, she said, and that staying will cost us both more than leaving ever could. The room felt smaller after that. In the days that followed, something subtle shifted between us. Nothing dramatic, no arguments, no slammed doors, just a new awareness, like realizing a beautiful painting hides a crack beneath the frame. I started noticing the pauses in her sentences, the way she went still when her phone buzzed late at night, the way she watched me sometimes, as if memorizing my face instead of living with it. One evening, I ran into Mrs. Holloway in the hallway again. She studied me the same way she always had, quietly, thoroughly. You're close now, she said. To what? I asked. She smiled, but it wasn't kind. Understanding. Does it end badly? I asked. She considered that. Endings are just where people stop looking. That night, Alina told me she had been offered her old job back, in her old city, the one she said she'd left behind for good. They called yesterday, she said. I didn't tell you because I wanted to see how it felt first. And I asked. She took a breath. It felt like relief and grief at the same time. I didn't beg her to stay. I didn't tell her to go. Some moments don't need persuasion. They need honesty. She left 2 weeks later. No fight, no dramatic goodbye. Just a long hug in the doorway and the quiet understanding that this was the part Mrs. Holloway had seen. After Alina moved out, life didn't collapse. It narrowed, became quieter, sharper. And one night, as I turned my key in the door, I finally understood the prophecy. The woman from the date didn't matter. The woman who left did. Because some people don't change your life by staying. They change it by showing you exactly what it costs to feel something real and then trusting you to live with the knowledge after they're gone.